Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a special guest here today. We have Dr. Salvatore Forcina. He's a retired general and vascular and trauma surgeon who served as the chief of surgery at two North Jersey hospitals for years and treated thousands of patients. He's also the author of The American Doctor. Now, I wanted Dr. Forcina on here because I think his story is gonna connect with a lot of you because he's overcome a lot of adversity and he has hope on the other side. And I know a lot of us are going through struggles right now. So, Doc, how has hope been relevant in your life?
Well, hope have been like the ship in the middle of the night, it look for the light far away.
Yes,
That hope have been for me what motivated me and assisted me and uh, and guide me to succeed after many years of struggling.
absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your story. Where did you grow up, and then when did you come to America, and how was that journey for you? Because I know it was a very, very different time.
Yes. I was born in Italy between Rome and Naples during World War II. And the area, the small town Scauri, is the area close to Monte Cassino. Monte Cassino was where the German troops were uh, were staying during World War II, and they prevented for the Allied to advance toward Rome for 6 months. There were
Wow.
multiple casualty, misery, you name it. People were terrible. The effect of the war was just family destroyed. People they have nothing. They were,
Yeah.
and so I was born there in 1941. My parents were just simple workers, and at that time there was so much poverty that the kids they were only to school for 1 or 2 years, and they had to, and there were numerous member of the family. They had to work, even small children would take care of the animals.
Oh my God.
Well, sure, there was everybody had the function because there was misery, there was no industry, there was nothing. So
So
the
every so all the families were everyone was helping out for the family unit
helping
to
out in
survive.
different way, helping out, and also the you see those people they live day by day. There was
Yes.
not such a thing like today in our society. A child can have a dream to look forward. Well, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be a professor. I'm going to be whatever. Whatever. There was no such a thing. You were just nobody, and just live is sad. But that's for have been for century, and there was you live day by day,
But
and it
I think that perspective is so powerful because a lot of us take for granted the opportunity we have today.
yes, yes, because you see, first of all, the maybe more than 70% of the people or more, those people didn't know how to write, how to read.
Wow.
So the communication, they were very poor. There was there was a newspaper, but there half of them, the majority of people didn't know how to read. So
Yes.
if they were lucky, there was just the beginning of the radio when my parents were. No, there was no telephone, of course. So there was just it was different world. So now, what happened? The young people, if they progress in life with all the diseases, there were lack of immunization and all the stuff. If they succeed to become an adult, you know, there was a major accomplishment in life.
Yeah. And I think It's so funny because nowadays everyone's like, "What's your dream? What do you want to do? Where are you going to be? Are you at your point right now? Did you hit your expectations?" And we don't
Yes,
realize that literally just 60 years ago, 80 years ago, for many people, that's just not even a possibility. And even there's people today where you go to
yes.
some of these countries where it's just not even possible to think like
No,
that.
yes, yeah, you're right. You're right. So it's a different world. It's sad. It's sad, but it's a different world because you know what happened. In life, you have to have a hope.
Yes.
But in order to, if you, in order to accomplish your dream, you have to work hard.
Yes.
You have to really. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be an up and down situation. It's like a climbing the mountain. But you climb the mountain, but you don't have the right shoes, you don't have the right equipment. And so you're going to struggle. But the guy that reached the top of the mountain and can put a flag, only a few are going to be able to do that. And if you persist, it's not going to be today or tomorrow, whatever, but you're going to, if you persist and you have faith, you're going to accomplish whatever you're dreaming.
Yes, and I think that's so important because there's so many of us, like you were saying earlier, that live in that day-to-day mentality. But we
Yes,
have to be able to think long term and have a vision of what we want and start to work towards that. So,
yes.
how did you apply that in your life, this long-term
Well,
thinking? Yeah.
I was first of all, I was uh, I was lucky in different way. I was lucky to have a father and a mother
Yes.
because my father was in war. His brother was killed during the war.
Oh my
My
God.
grandfather was a prisoner, German prisoner. So, in other words, my father, thank God, I have a father. And
Yes.
my father was a simple man, but he was a lot of those people. They have a lot of common sense because
Yes.
nature, for some reason, compensates the lack of instruction.
Yes.
They make them wise in the sense that they knew, they look at the sky and they can predict almost what kind of weather was going to be the following day, you know, in
Oh
some
wow.
way. Observation or whatever. Okay. Uh, so anyhow, so what happened was that my father used to talk to me since I was a small child, and used to tell me things when he was younger. They didn't have the few things that they have during the war, the struggle. How many times, you know, people, family were destroyed because they stepped in the mine. Uh, how they had to run to the mountain, and in the mountain they were cold, and at that time they didn't have DDTs. So what happened? They were infestation with lice. So and what they do, the women they have a big cauldron, put snow there, and they put a cloth, a wool cloth, the inner cloth, and they and boil that. They had to boil in order to well to kill the lice. You know,
Yes.
it was terrible, terrible, and they had to they were living in a hut made of straw, uh, and it was a really primitive life in the in the mountain during the war,
Yes.
and they didn't have a food, they don't have a you know. So anyhow, my father used to talk to me and used to and I in the beginning I didn't understand because for him, well, for me to study. But of course, when you are a small child at that time, who you want to be kicking a ball in the middle of the street or whatever, you know, and then you don't want to be study or whatever, okay? So, but he used to talk to me. He used to talk to me, and that you had to be somebody in life. And as I was growing up, I start to, for some reason, I start to be more conscious of what he was telling me.
Yes.
And eventually also because I saw when we eventually we moved to Argentina after the war, and my father went in 1947 there, and we went in 1949 in May 1949. My mother, my brother, and me. My brother was 18 months old. I was 8 years old. And so what happened was that we went there for a better future because there were no war. But we were discriminated because we were in a foreign land. My mother was young, didn't speak the language, the custom were different, and the separation from your family, you were like transplanted in the middle of the desert, really. One way.
Yeah, I can only imagine because the challenges of just a lot of us can probably experience going to a foreign country and feeling that, but to
Yes,
live
and
through that and realize that can be very,
yeah,
very challenging.
yeah, and in some way, you felt you were not welcome
Yeah.
because even the kids mock you, whatever, And I was a small child. I mean, and then so anyhow, so my father was really want for me to study, like I said, but luck was that one day the priest came to preach. There was a church, several blocks away from my parents in Argentina, and this priest started to talk to me, show me some pictures. I was maybe 10 years old, something like that, and so he showed me some picture of the place, the school that they have, and the kids were playing soccer, kicking the ball. There was a pony. They were swimming in the lake, whatever. Okay, so I didn't have anything of that. So when I saw that, right away I went to my father. I want to go to this place. I want to go. So my father said, "Well, listen, whatever." So make a long story short, I went to the school in Buenos Aires. I was there
Oh, awesome.
I was there for 7 years.
Wow.
Those priests, they were German priests, and they were very strict.
I can imagine.
And I was 11 years old when I went there. Now, put yourself in my situation: the separation from my mother, from my parents, a strict discipline, and you were punished. You were punished verbally and physically.
Yes.
There were different times. The education was different at the time. The priest was behind you, and they asked questions, and you try to come up with the answer, but at the same time, you try to protect your head because he's going to slap you if you. So that's the and 11 years old.
And
You have
yeah, that kind of schooling does not promote creativity. It just
no.
it promotes fear and just not like be as small as possible and don't be this big person and don't accomplish these things. So it's completely the opposite of what your dad was telling you to do.
Yeah, but that was, and so I grew up with that mentality that you just have to obey no matter what. You
Yes.
have to keep your mouth shut, and the education was not the best because it was a very archaic way of studying. It was no. You see, you cannot give what you don't have. And
Yes.
in general, the education, they were most a religious thing in what they believe, and you just memorize things. You study the classic, you study Latin literature, history, or geography. That was good, but the reasoning, no reasoning at all. As
Yes.
a matter of fact, and you don't ask too many questions because they were very sensitive. I remember one time, I guess I was, I don't know, I was a teenager. Maybe I was 15, 16, at that age, the hormones, the idea of the opposite sex and all that.
Yes.
But, because it's an inner is something inside us.
Yes.
But you cannot talk to nobody about that. So I start to ask questions. I was reported to the director, and he admonished me, and he told me strictly, he said, listen, next time you don't behave, we're going to expel you. And
my God.
he told me something very important. He said, and what are you going to do if we expel you because you are not an intelligent person? He told me at that time. At that time, I didn't understand what it meant to. I was not intelligent, whatever, because you're kids, whatever. But eventually, year after, it affected me because I say, I need encouragement. At that age, you need support, you need encouragement, you have to be patient or whatever to guide, to take the right direction.
Yes.
And those people, because you question, you have to follow a blind path of whatever they tell you. They tell you jump from the window, you have to jump from the window because they tell you that. It's a exaggeration what I'm saying, but that psychologically, that's what they're telling you.
And that affects you very much so. And we have to realize that when we're training employees or training children or training just our friends or our family on how we want to react,
Yes,
you have to have that encouragement aspect of like, you can do this.
yes,
So
but there were different way. The teaching at that time, the
a
religious,
hun- a
the
hundred per
religious, was a different way of bringing up the education. That gave an idea because, for instance, through the history, for instance, the Jesuits, they were the people that educated the nobility in Europe.
Yes.
All right, and that's why eventually some of the states, they were so one direction, so fanatic, so about they were not open for changes.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to me because nowadays people are growing up, they have the internet, so they can see so many different options and they see all of these different things real time. So now there's too many options where there wasn't any option. So
No, yeah, you're
for
right.
for you, how did you keep developing your hope? Because you're very accomplished and going through that can be very challenging.
Well, what happened was that I'm going to just explain to you. There was a library there in the school, and the books that we have there, the book already, some of them, the pages were removed, and some of the with the erase marker were blank, because in the opinion of the priests, whatever, there was something that they remotely show something, feeling or love or whatever, okay, that was not good.
Yeah.
So that's the environment that I grew up.
They closed off every option. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Even in the
because
books, that's wild.
for some reason, that's to keep you pure or whatever. And eventually, look at today, the history today, with
Yeah.
the thing going on, the thing, the molestation and everything.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
Yeah,
you hear
I
about
mean,
it so often, and we've had guests on who talked
and you're
about.
talking about communication and this and that today, and this then still thing happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyhow, so what happened was that then gradually, in the beginning, I went there. I was 11 years old. I didn't want to study over there. So gradually, I start, for some reason, looking around, whatever, guys mature, and eventually end up. I said yes. I start to understand that you have to apply yourself to be somebody, because I want to be somebody. I want to be like the other kids that that when I left this place after 7 years, all the other kids, I went to public school for 2 years, and all my friends, colleague, whatever, okay, they were all well off. They were no son of the immigrant. I was the son of the immigrant, the poor immigrant. But they were all successful. They had successful parents. They have a big name. They were doctor, lawyer, estanciero people. They own a lot of property. They own cows. They were successful people. But you know what? Something that my parents never told me to hate or be envious.
Yes.
I was never envious of my colleagues. They used to come to my house. Those people used to eat in my parents' house, okay? Because my mother prepared Italian food. Yeah, but they have the maid make them some simple thing. They were nothing special because the parents didn't cook. You know, they went out. They went out.
Well, I think that's so important because you start to realize that no matter what you have or what you don't have, like you always have some sort of value. And I think everyone listening can realize that no matter what's going on with their current situation, there is some value with inside of them. And whether
Yes.
that's their ability, their mom's cooking, or whether that's their drive or their determination or their ability to dream big, there is
Yes.
something powerful for them.
Yeah. And so what happened was that um, I start to see that how they dress, how the friend that they have a car, they have motorcycle, or whatever. I didn't have nothing. I was sharing a small bike with my brother, bicycle. And then, but I start to understand I want to be somebody. In order to be somebody, my father used to say, you had to work hard, you had to study, because for him, study was the key that opened the door.
Yes. Yes. And
And
that's what it is for a lot of people, the studying.
yeah, and so, and eventually, like I say, I was with the priest for 7 years. That school was not recognized by the state. When I went to the public school, I had to take different exam. I had to repeat 1 year. So it was a typical life, my life. Nothing was straight.
Yes.
Because you see what happened also was that I never have a guidance. I never had somebody that told me, do this, don't do that.
The
Yeah,
mentorship.
I didn't have nothing. Like I say, today you can read the internet, you have a question of friends or whatever. At that time, I was alone. I was my surrounding were just other immigrant that they just try to succeed making ends meet, and they didn't have the looking forward to the future. No, they were just try to. They just left a country where they were starving. They had lost their family, and so they try to do the best to feed their children.
Yes. And
And
I can
that
only
was
imagine, yeah, I can only imagine how challenging that is when you're going through two
yes,
polarizing sides. You go to school, these people are successful, they have families, own a lot of stuff. And then your home is like, hey, we're just trying to survive. Like we're
yes,
just
yeah.
trying to get by.
Yeah. So anyhow, so eventually, what happened that my friends, when we finished bachillerato, like a college, when I was superior
Yeah.
school, my friend, they were going to go to university. And so one day my father say, okay, now that you finish, what are you going to do? Well, I would like to, I knew my parents' limitation
Yeah.
economically. And then what are you going to do? I said, well, I would like to go to medical school. I didn't have a clue what medical school was. I just, he put in my head that a doctor, because a doctor, a professional was a big thing for
Yes.
them. Okay? So I saw my father, my mother said, we're going to try to help you the best we can.
Yeah.
And so now I went to the school, and so what happened, first of all, I didn't have books. I didn't have books. I didn't have books because my books were very expensive, and my parents couldn't afford that. So what happened was we were renting an old house with several rooms. There were maybe a dozen other friends, 12,
Yeah.
15, whatever. And so, and there were two, 3 people in each room.
Yeah.
And so what happened, that's where we started. So now La Plata, University of La Plata in Argentina is very close to Buenos Aires. So what
Yes.
happened was a weekend, Friday afternoon, my friends that were well off, they used to go and spend the weekend in Buenos Aires because that
Oh,
was
wow.
the center activity. They had the money, they had the connection, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was alone. So that was the time when I used their books.
Oh, wow. Oh,
I,
wow.
I used their books to study
You got to get more
because
resource.
during
Yeah.
the week I used to go to the library and borrow some books there. But those books, they were like a papyrus. They were like a stain. The pages
Yeah.
were torn because and so I tried to take note or whatever. So it was not an easy way for me to. I had to study, but you never knew what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. So you had to be super resourceful. And I think that's something important for everyone to realize here is that no matter what your situation is, there's some way to figure it out. And
Yes.
there's some way to make it better. And the more resourceful we get, the more we can achieve and more we can accomplish. So you were able to get through medical school by not even purchasing books.
Yeah, almost, yeah. And so I was, the medical school was there 7 years.
Wow.
When I finished that, I decided to go back to Italy to specialize.
Yes.
Like I say, here again, nobody told me anything. I didn't know anything, just because of sentimental value.
Yes.
Okay, so anyhow, I went there. To make a long story short, I had to take 4 exams in order to, because my
Qualify.
title was not recognized, 4 exams, but I had to wait until September. I went there in March. So meantime, the town where my parents live, Scauri, is called Scauri. It's a summer resort. It's a beautiful beach, a beach there. And then while I was waiting for September to come, I made some friends, distant relatives from the United States. They were come and spend the summer in Italy, and
Yes.
we were talking. And they hear about my situation. They say, "Sir," one of them says, "Sir, what are you doing here? There's no future for you here. Over there, or socialized medicine. Imagine." So what
Yes.
happened? I said, "You have to come to United States." So anyhow, lucky I was lucky that I have family here, my cousin, uncle, aunt, and I wrote to them, and they welcomed me here, came here. Now I was 28 years old when I came to this country. I didn't speak English, and my degree was not recognized.
Again, not recognized. And
Not recognized. So
it's
now what happened is, first of all, and there was this exam called multiple choices. I didn't know. I didn't have a clue what was multiple choice exam. I never saw that in my life.
yeah.
So I'm at 28 years old talking about going to depression. And so what happened was that I had to learn English. I had to borrow money from my family because I didn't have any money to go to New York University to study English. And eventually I had to take refreshing courses because you had to pass an exam called ESFMG that is given for the foreign graduate and the American graduate outside the United States. When
Oh
you
my
pass
God.
that exam, you cannot practice. That exam allow you to apply to the hospital for starting your training.
Wow.
And I decided to go into surgery. And so that was 5-year training.
Wow.
And you were on call every other night. You were a Spartan life. You're talking about, and you had to study at the same time. So you were like a zombie. You were a zombie.
Yeah, no, I mean it sounds very, very challenging because it's crazy to me because I'm 28 years old. So you're telling this story, I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, the adversity and overcoming, and then spending another 5 years just to get back to that certification and be able to be a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what happened was that when you were on every other night, you were on call, you were up all night. You were up all night because there were gunshot wounds, stabbing people in the operating room. You were up all night. And so during the day you had to work, and then when you go home, you were so exhausted, and you had to eventually prepare yourself to take the exam. You got a special exam because after the training you had to take special exam, board certification, federal license. You had to pass, otherwise you cannot practice. So it was difficult. Was difficult.
I can only imagine. So what kept you going? What kept you excited and hopeful?
There were many times more through my life. There were many times you were very. I was very low in my life, very depressed, very down, without hope, and I just keep praying. I say, God, give me a chance, because the first time I went to take the exam, like I told you before, I didn't speak to nobody. I didn't know nobody. I went to New York. You had to go to take the exam, and there is a big boardroom of more than 1,000 doctors.
Oh, wow.
And they were talking about the multiple choices. And they say that the answer is there. And I didn't have a clue. I didn't know. He said, what do you mean the answer is there? They give you the answer. I didn't realize. So I went to take the exam, and I was like, this was like a Chinese to me. And I didn't know there was a timing. I used to get up. I used to have a headache because so many hours. I'm not used to that. And so I was not trained for this. My English was limited English. And so as you get tired, so now suddenly I was taking my time. Suddenly say, you have half an hour to finish. Half an hour to finish. I didn't know there was a timing. So I start to rush A, B, C, D, whatever. So you imagine was a disaster. The first time I took that, of course, I failed, but you had to wait several months to receive the
try again. Yeah.
to get the result.
Oh, wow.
So eventually, and I was very down. I studied night and day, and so what happened is that thinking about if I cannot pass, I have to go back. Where do I go back to Argentina? Go to Italy? I'm nobody again. You're like a small boat lost in the middle of the ocean. That was my life. So anyhow, so finally, eventually, the other next time I passed the exam, and they allowed me to apply to the hospital. I had to wait until July, and so anyhow, I spent a 5-year training. I have a good training, and eventually, you start a private practice, but nobody knows you. So here we are. You have an accent. I have an accent. Nobody knows me. I applied to different hospitals. So in the beginning, so you cover the emergency room. Most of the if you do surgery, most of the people you do from the emergency room, they don't have insurance. You do pro bono. So
So you're not
meantime,
even making money.
meantime, you had to pay for my practice, the expenses. You had your family to feed, the rent, whatever. So here we are. I mean, put yourself in my situation. So anyhow, so one day I was in the hospital, say, waiting for a miracle to happen, whatever. Okay, walking around. So eventually, there was an emergency in the operating room, and the chief of surgery needs somebody to help out. So I went there, and I helped the chief of surgery, and I guess he was impressed. And from that day on, his office started to call my office to help him out, to assist him. And also, when he was going on vacation, I used to cover for him, see his patient, and this and that. And gradually, I start to, one step at a time, I start to move up. Took time.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's so inspiring because you start to realize that nothing's given.
Oh,
Everything's
no.
earned. And as you continue on, you saw these different opportunities and you stepped up, even though you're tired, you're exhausted, feeling like life's not fair. And then you finally get recognition from someone who's actually doing it.
Yes.
And they're like,
Yeah.
wait, you're actually pretty good. And you're like, thank you. I
So
appreciate
thank
that.
you. So just to give it an example, okay? So one day I was, my office got a call that the chief of surgery was away, whatever, and then there was a sick patient in the hospital. They want for me to see this patient, and I remember I went to see this patient and introduced myself, and of course he was. I noticed there was a barrier between him and me.
Yeah.
There was there was a distance. You know what I'm
No
saying?
connection. Yeah.
No connection. So anyhow, happened that this gentleman was very sick. He had fever. He had infected gallbladder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I examined him, explained everything. I said he needs surgery and this and that. And so he said, well, he said that let me talk to my family. It was a very cold
Yeah.
communication. So anyhow, so the following morning, I had to be in the operating room. I went to see him before I went to the operating room, and the wife was there, the children were there, everybody. So I walk in, and he said, "Dr. Forcina, this is my wife, this is my daughter, this and this." I said, "When are we going to do the surgery?" Completely different picture from the day before.
What happened?
So what happened? I said, I went to the head nurse. I said, well, oh, say, Dr. Forcina, since you left yesterday, this gentleman was asking everybody that walk into the room or walk in the corridor if they knew me. And of
Yeah.
course, I have very good report with the nurses, and they
Of
knew
course.
kind of work. So that's why the following day, of course, he had the surgery, he did fine or whatever. But you see the barrier, there were barrier at different level.
No matter what you were doing, you were
Yeah.
facing adversity.
Yes. Different time, different thing. And that had been my life. But you know what happened? I never give up. Because also, you know what happened during my career? I didn't have what the other friend have, but I was thinking all the time the type of life my parents have, because they couldn't
Yes.
give me if the other friend they have $100, I have 50 cents. So I had to adjust my life to the 50 cents.
Yes.
And that was but because I knew my parents couldn't do more than that. And so, and because of that, I apply myself and study night and day because it's just a sense of responsibility. I had to do this for them because what they have done for me.
Yes, because you realize that regardless of the financial component, people do what they can and they try their best, but maybe there's a
Yeah.
way you can set up everybody a little bit better for your family and like when you start building a family and all of that.
Yes. Yeah. That's life. That's life.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you when did you feel like you really made it? And what was that feeling like for, and because obviously as you continue to grow, the adversity drops down and down and down. But how did you feel? Because I
Well,
feel, yeah.
was a graduate. Took years already.
Yeah.
When I started to make my first pennies, I was almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
You know. So what happened, and so uh, eventually assisting at the doctor, and eventually people start to know you, and gradually this is something took years.
Yeah.
Took years. So eventually at the end, I end up with chief of surgery in 2 hospitals.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's close to New York and New
Yeah.
Jersey, just across from the Washington Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, Holy Name Hospital, and in Teaneck, and Meadowland in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was there for, yeah. And so anyhow, but then, like I say, I was lucky to marry the right person too, and assist me, help me, because alone you can, you know.
So you think there's a value in finding your right partner?
Oh yeah, oh definitely. Listen, you know what the old tradition is, you know, the farmers in the old country before the tractor came, they had the plows,
Yeah.
and the plow they had two oxes,
Yeah.
and when they plow, the primitive plow, to go straight, the two oxen had to be pulling at the same time, at the same direction.
Yeah.
If one pull in one direction and the other pull in the other direction, you know what's going to happen.
Of course. So if you can get on the same page as your partner
That's what I'm saying. So that's
and
what I'm
work
saying.
towards the same mission, then you'll be able to
Yes,
accelerate
yeah,
it because now you have
yeah,
a team.
yeah. You had to really work together. It's not easy, you know.
Yeah.
And so I remember we were young, and in the beginning I had to be available all the time. And so what happened was that in more than one occasion, when we were ready to go to some party, some place, once in a while, we invited. Uh, we were ready to go, and the emergency room called me, or whatever, the floor called me. Somebody was bleeding or whatever, and I had to run, and my poor wife had to stay home.
Yeah.
So many that happened many times, and so, like I say, not to every wife is the same. Some
Yes.
wife will take that, some other wife will say, this is not the type of life sacrifice I want to do. This.
So
Everybody's there.
so you've had an incredible 80 plus years of life. You've done a
Yes.
lot and legacy is super important. So what do you think for the generation of today? Like me being 28 years old and I just got married last week. So like what would you
Okay.
recommend? What do you think? Yeah.
All right. First of all, I want to congratulate you on success.
Thank you.
Yeah. The advice that I can give you is that in life to succeed, you have to work hard.
Yes.
You have to work hard. You have to apply yourself, and And it's going to be up and down. Like I would say, when you climb the mountain, from far away, the mountain, everything looks smooth.
Yes.
But as you get closer, there are rocks,
There's snowstorms.
it's uneven, you know, the cliff that you can fall down, you know.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so that's why it's very important to have the right partner, first of all.
Yes.
Because and the worst thing is when you are alone
Yeah.
and you are down, is the best thing is to have somebody there that hold your hand
Yeah.
and give you comfort,
And that support.
and you feel the warmth, and you say, you're going to, don't worry, it's not going to be easy, but you're going to make it. You're going to be able to go across this ocean. I know the ocean is very big, but you know, but you're going to be able to come across.
Yeah.
And you need that, because you're alone, yes, but there are moments when you feel like you're in the middle of the desert, and you look all around and you don't see a reference point in
Yes.
which direction where to go, because
Yes.
even the sun that day is cloudy. You cannot see
Yeah.
the sun. So sometimes you're just a stream. And
Yes.
that particular moment, that's when, if you have faith, believe in somebody, say, God, please give me a chance.
Yeah.
And
I
you
love
keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going. And so today, there are a lot of people that work very hard, but also there are generations in which the young people, you want everything to be done for you.
Yeah, it's a very different time nowadays, and there's
Yes,
convenience is prioritized, and there's a
yeah.
point
If
where you
you,
have to push to
yeah,
be, yeah,
there are some people, for instance, I know people in Italy, whatever. Okay, well, they don't get married. A lot of children don't get married. They are 40 years old. They live with the parents, and they get up 11 o'clock in the morning, and the parents have to give them money to go have a cup of coffee in the bar. If you had that attitude, I mean, what do you expect in life?
yeah. So it really comes down to, like you said, being actively there and being intentional, because you can always be in the situations. But like I was talking to some people, I have a group, and we were talking yesterday about how you can go to the gym, and sometimes people go to the gym and just talk the whole time. They
Yeah,
don't do anything. There's some
yeah,
people who really work out and like do a lot of
yes,
hard work. And the
yes,
working out person might only be there for 30, the talker might be there an hour and a half. They're
yeah,
both in the gym, but
yeah,
someone
but
actually got stuff done where the other one did not. And it's so important for us to realize that we have to focus on just getting the task done and being there and being as present as possible, because it really does move the needle.
you have to apply. You have to apply
Yes.
yourself. Yes, and like I said, there are days that you say, "Oh, I don't feel I want to do this, I don't want to do that." But if once in a while, it's good. But if
Yes.
you every day say, "Oh, I don't feel, and you're just sitting there, you know, the train is going to pass you by, and if you don't run to grab that and jump in the train is going to leave you.
I I think that is so good, because I like how it's our life comes down to the train we could even make our own trains. Like we can create
Yes,
our own lives. And
yes,
I think that's so amazing. And for
yes,
you, I realized that you wrote the book, The American Doctor.
yes.
Why'd you write the book?
Well, what happened was that when we were younger with my wife, occasionally we go to somebody's house or whatever, okay? And they were different people. They were doctor, lawyer, average person, politicians. And in more than one occasion, somebody knew a little bit about me, excuse me, and or somebody start to ask questions, where it came from, and this and that, And I kind of guide. I like very much history, very classic music, opera, this and that. So we start to talk about, and when I start to explain things, whatever, like I am talking to you, some people say, wow, that's a wonderful thing what you have accomplished, because really, this is what you call really the American dream.
Yes.
You
Yes.
come here without any money, anything, just with a hope
Yes.
that maybe something is going to happen.
Yes.
And so what happened is that in more than one occasion, people had told me, oh, you should write down this. You should write. And at that time, it never occurred to me. I say, I was, my life was like being in a train and go 150 miles per hour,
Yes.
And I tried to go look through the window, and because the speed was so fast, the train was so fast, everything would look blur. But
Yes.
now, I retire, that train is going 15 miles per hour. And I
Yes.
look through the window and say, wow, look at the landscape. The landscape have been there. The only thing is me.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
going, you understand
And
what I'm saying?
that's why I think it's so important, because nowadays there are people that are working really hard and there are people that are enjoying the landscape. And it's, for
Yeah.
me, for our generation, I see it, it's how do you mesh the two of them and figure out how to really enjoy your experience and
Yes.
get to
So,
see more of it. Yes.
so now what happened was that I have a granddaughter.
Yes.
The granddaughter 9 years old now. Okay.
Wow.
But when I
Congrats.
started this book, she was 5, 6, whatever. And so what happened is that being retired, I'm retired, I live in Florida, and so my family, my daughter is in New Jersey. So what happened is that then you start to the age, I start to think about the past, how they think my life evolved, and start to write down things. So one day I sent it to my daughter a few things, and so my daughter said, "Dad, that's beautiful. You should write. You should write
Yeah.
for my granddaughter Lennon." So that stimulated me to write for her, because I'm not going to be around forever. And so when she's a teenager, I hope it doesn't happen, but if she have a bad moment or whatever, she one day may perhaps she can pick up this book, open some pages, and this book is a motivational book, encouragement book. And maybe she can think, oh, my grandpa, he succeeded without books, without anything, came to a foreign land, he didn't speak the language, and he succeeded. Maybe this can be a stimulus for her to say, well, I'm born here in this country. My parents are in this country. I have everything. I'm in college. I have TV. I have a car. I have a air condition. I have a heat. I have everything. I'm not happy. What's wrong with me?
Yes, yes. It gives you a proper perspective. And for me, even when I started the podcast, it was a legacy thing. It was
Yeah.
me being like, I want to be 80 years old. And then be like your grandkids going, or my grandkids going, Jordan, what'd you do when you were in your 20s?
Yes.
Check out my 500 plus episodes of podcast. I'm not
Yes.
200,
Yeah.
but we're continuing on. And I think it's so important to focus on the legacy and look at the end in mind and kind of work through that, because there's so many impactful lessons that we have that we don't get to share. So,
Yes.
Doc, I know our time is running slim. So tell me, what would you recommend to the audience if they want to improve their life in any way? You've obviously dropped a ton of nuggets throughout this, but what do you think people should
Well,
know?
first of
Yeah.
all, I will encourage them to get this book, The American
Yes, I'll put
Doctor.
it in the show notes. I'll
It's
put it
in
in the show notes.
Amazon, and to read this book slowly, because there is a lot of stuff there. There is for all the ages and different levels.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was the classic, there are the common sense approach to the common sense, and reading this book, I hope it open the horizon for some people and give a support and motivate them to keep going.
Absolutely.
It's like life is like a small child. Had to learn to walk.
Yes.
The first few steps, the child make it 2 step, fall down, and
Yes.
get hurt and cry. Get up and do it again. You have to get up and keep doing.
Yes.
If you fall down and you stay down, that's not good.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's what life is about.
I love that. So it's more that we have to keep fighting, keep hope, keep faith, and find that partner that's perfect.
Keep working, keep working,
Keep working.
keep going, keep
I love
going.
it, Doc.
Don't give up. Listen, let me tell you this. If you don't succeed in the United States, God bless this country, okay?
Yes.
With all the things that we have, and we have those things because our ancestors worked very hard to build this country.
Yes.
For different culture, immigration, whatever, okay, you want. But they apply themselves and they make this country different than the rest of the world.
Yes.
And so that's why everybody want to come to this country.
Yes.
There had to be a reason. They don't want to go to other country where there is dictatorship, censorship, and no, they want to come to United States. Yes. There had to be a reason for that. So God bless, you come to this country, you sacrifice yourself, and don't look for yourself. Just look for the future you're going to give to your children.
Yes.
What kind of future are they going to have? The education they can have, the type of job they can have, and they start a better life, and they can have the thing that you never had. You were just dreaming to have.
Yes.
And that's what life is about.
You're incredible. I
So
appreciate
God bless
the time.
America. Listen,
yes.
God bless. I really mean that. I mean that.
And we need more of that nowadays because there's so many of us that are just.
Well, because you see what happened. It's like the civilization. Look at the Roman civilization. The
Yes.
Roman. What empire they have.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, they have a patriotism, they love the country, the father figure, the discipline, this and that. Eventually, when they conquered the world that they knew at that time, and they became rich, they squandered everything. They became the corruption.
Yes.
And the atrocities that the barbarian came, and instead of defending the frontier, the barbarian came in, and they had to pay the barbarian, the Roman, pay the barbarian for protection.
Yes.
And how I end up?
Yes.
The fall of the Roman Empire. How they end up? Because of they lost the essential thing that was the discipline, the harmony.
Yes. So it's the reminder that we should always have the discipline regardless of
you
the situation.
You have to have discipline.
And you have to build the hard work.
You have to be disciplined. You have to respect. To me, life is like, you see, I'm a classic guy. So you have a concert. You have 100 different instruments. Okay? Now, for that symphony to play and be a pleasant, everybody had to follow the rule. There are rules. Yes. There is a piano, pianissimo, forte, fortissimo. Yeah. There is a pause. There is you cannot just do whatever you want because it's not. They had to be in harmony. They had to match. It had to be pleasant.
Yes. It comes down to the hard work and the discipline.
Yes,
and
that's what life is about.
I love it.
Imagine driving in the street and you don't follow the the signs. You do
You,
whatever you. What's
you
going
got
to
to be
happen?
part of the society and
What's
grow
going
it
to
and provide the
happen?
value.
I want the freedom. Yeah, you want the freedom, but you have to follow the. If you're going to drive, you have to follow the sign, the rules.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been absolutely incredible. I know we're running out of time, and I really do appreciate the time. You've provided so
My
much
pleasure.
wisdom,
Well, my
and you've
pleasure.
really helped, I think, provide a really great perspective of like why we're so special to live in America and what the American dream is all about. So
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much, and good luck. Good luck. Give me my congratulations to you and your wife,
Thank you.
and I hope to talk to you soon.
Absolutely.